Welcome, everyone, to the third episode of the Guardians Overwatch podcast. I'm your host, Veritech, here today with my co-hosts, One Eye, Donovan, and Sean Azax. We are actually dual streaming right now for the first time in the history of my computer, streaming on Twitch and YouTube Gaming. We want to reach the largest audience possible. You'll notice we are down a host. Artemis Howell Morgan had some emergency stuff she had to take care of, so she needed to sit this one out. But with that being said, before we get too far into it, I realize we are 3 weeks in and I have not credited our graphic designer. So if you like our overlays that we use, you like our logos, were all made by a nice gentleman named Darius Mew. He goes by the handle DARMIU on Twitter. So if you like what you see, you want to hit him up, maybe to get some pricing on some custom stuff, that's the guy to go see. Again, DARMIU, Darius Mew. So that out of the way, what's going on, guys? It's been a couple weeks since we had an episode. What's new in your world?
Well, let's see. I've just been doing a little bit of stuff with Lyft, so I've been doing that. Some real-world boring stuff, unfortunately. And other than that, just grinding out. I actually found a small group to play Smite with, which, like I said, I know I'm the biggest MOBA nerd in the world, but I play them all, so having people to play that with is a nice change of pace, so that's been pretty fun. Other than that, it's been a pretty slow couple of weeks.
So I'm going to apologize here because I had unexpected yard work in my backyard that I didn't know was going to happen today. So as far as me, it's my first week of college, so it's been balancing work, college, and getting the podcast ready. So it's been a really interesting week.
Nice.
Busy. Nice.
Yeah, real life stuff, it sounds like.
Real life stuff, yeah.
Ugh, no fun.
Very nice. Well, so obviously, not very much major news, just something minor. The beta is coming back on Tuesday, the 9th. Like, holy crap. Yeah. Can't wait, right?
It's pretty much the same news we had last week. I mean, it comes back February 9th, next Tuesday. It's sooner than we all expected. It'll be back on the 9th for Americas and Europe, and then the 16th for China. And I'm excited to stream some damn Overwatch. I'm excited to play some Overwatch and have news to bring to the community, talk to the community about. It's going to be great.
Dude, I so cannot wait to jump back into it. And obviously, again, other regions, it'll start later. Like, it'll start the 9th for Americas and Europe, but it's a week later for China, so it starts on the 16th. But they get to jump back in. Those people who were already in the beta should have already gotten their email saying, hey, you're back in the beta, and they should send a new wave out, hopefully Monday or Tuesday. We shall see. But, yeah, I mean, it's good. Now we can stop speculating, and we can start gravitating. Yeah, gravitating back to them.
Doing some playing of the games. Yeah, I mean, just 2 new maps, new game mode. It just... Seriously, the hype is real. I mean, everybody's been waiting for it. This game is, I mean, at least in my circles, all anybody's talking about, just because Blizzard... I think they learned with the train wreck that was the Hearthstone beta, and, like, they've been a little more restrictive in the last few. Like, Heroes, not a whole lot of people got into, and, like, that's what they've been doing with Overwatch. So this is all anybody's talking about.
Right.
So it'll be great to actually get it going again and playing. Just so excited. Love the game.
Yeah, it's one of those titles, like, you've been waiting forever for. And, the people who aren't in the beta yet, they're waiting, and, a lot of people have coined it the oversalt beta because it's just like they're waiting. But, the end is near. There's light at the end of the tunnel. We're in 2016. The beta's back up again. The game is releasing in a few short months. I mean, I know it says spring 2016, but spring starts just in, a month and a half. So it could be at any time after that. So, we'll have to see. What's going on, Jazz? Yeah, so
I was at work this week at my register, and one of my regular customers comes in, and he brings up Blizzard game, and then I bring up Overwatch. He's like, "Oh, you mean only watch?"
Yeah.
There were a lot of people who that was like. I'll admit, even at BlizzCon, I was really salty about it. I'm like, now how are they expecting me to buy shit for a game that I can't play or buy? What is this? Come on, Blizzard.
Yeah.
The people not playing are pretty mad about it.
Yeah, but they announced it's coming back. It's like, as I said, there's gonna be an on progression system. There's gonna be two new maps as well as a new game mode. They're going to do balancing updates for the heroes, and they're gonna bring a variety of updates to private games, including full AI matches. Everything so far is unspecified. It's Friday the week before, and everything's unspecified. So we don't know. Are they going to tell us Monday? We were hoping to get some news today, some clarifications, or are they just going to dump it on us Tuesday and be like, "Surprise! I don't know what's coming." Real Redlock in chat is asking fresh game mode ideas. I mean, last week we discussed our ideas, and I really have no idea at this current point what they're going to put out. I was hoping for more clarification, but we'll see, and we're going to stream it and play it. And
Okay, here's a quick question. Was I the only person who saw the quick mastery leak? I don't know if that was confirmed or if that was, or if anybody thought that was a hoax
was it the
or not.
Genji thing?
Yeah, the Genji thing.
I think it was a hoax.
Fake.
I think it was a hoax. I mean, they had spelling errors and
super fake.
Master Skin, Pool Noodle Genji.
Yeah, Pool Noodle Genji. Yeah, but they did say that they were trying to implement some sort of mastery thing with this patch and things like
Here's
that.
the
So it
thing.
will be interesting to see what actually happens.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
reason I know that's fake, besides the fact that it's Pool Noodle Genji,
Noodle Genji. Yeah, besides the fact that it's troll as fuck. Yeah,
is that it mentioned leveling heroes individually up to 10, and we already know Blizzard does not want to do that.
I want to do that because they were canceled it out. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun little kind of concept, but I don't think they're gonna have master skins. It's
Well, it'll be really interesting to see what they actually are putting in the game. I know we speculated about this last time we talked, but it's just, I mean, people obviously want to know.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this is just going to be a big patch. Like, I participated in a lot of alphas and betas, like I just always have, especially just playing a lot of MOBAs, because sometimes they don't even get through testing.
yeah.
And, like, it's crazy, man. There's so much speculation and hype. This patch is going to be gigantic. Like, it's obviously not going to completely change the game, but just the fact that they're putting a lot of content in it, and they haven't specified exactly what the balancing is going to be, but the fact that there's balancing, there's new maps, there's new progression, like, it's going to be almost like a new game.
Right.
The thing about Overwatch when the beta came out, it did, in a sense, it did feel a little bit empty, like we wanted some more game modes and maps, but it's so polished, and it's so good, they could have released it as this, and I would have played it just fine. It's an amazing game in itself. So the fact that they're adding new game modes and content before launch makes me happy. Makes me happy as shit. It's just such a polished and good game, and they've been taking so long with the new ideas for new game modes that it's got to be something good.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
just the Blizzard polish, too. Everything they do. And there was a lot of people who originally, like, I remember being at BlizzCon, sitting there watching the opening ceremony, and they do the Overwatch trailer, and people being like, oh, I wonder if the game's going to look anything like that. And then seeing it on the show floor and being like, whoa, this is alpha? Like, I mean, it's just, everything Blizzard touches is just so polished and so fine.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really great experience. I think that's part of the reason why it'll survive and do really well on consoles, too, is just because it's so polished. It doesn't necessarily feel like a cheap PC game, which that always blows me away when I hear people say that, just because there's so much free-to-play on PC. But the game is awesome. It'll be great to see how it looks now and the new maps.
Yeah, for
To
sure.
address some stuff in chat. Minstrel, welcome back, Minstrel. King of the Hill would be a great addition. I would love to see it. As far as Redlock, it is a shockingly well put up beta, and that's what Blizzard does. I mean, Heroes of the Storm came out, and I mean, it's changed a ton from initial alpha to now, and to when the beta ended. But it was still like you played the game and it was polished to the point where it could have released. It lacked features, but the game itself felt polished, and that's just what they do now. And it doesn't hurt that this game was Titan, and it's been developed for so many years.
Right.
So, I mean, this game is a game in its own, but it had the scraps left over from Titan that they could build upon. So, it's well put together, and the solo pitfalls between between 21 heroes is crazy. Yeah, the fact that they have 21 heroes that all feel polished and well thought out and balanced to an extent and unique and that much fun, they put a lot of good effort into this game.
Well, you can see where the assets went into, like where all the resources went. Like, Blizzard worked on that project for so long, everyone's like, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? And then, oh, it's falling apart, it's not going to actually be released. And then next BlizzCon, hey, we're releasing this instead. It just has all the same assets. Like, it's got the Blizzard feel to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as far as what Minstrel said with the rumor being King of the Hill, I would absolutely love that. King of the Hill modes are super fun, and being somebody who enjoys playing, tanky heroes, sign me up, man. I'm down for it. You know what I mean? Like, I love game modes like that. one of the reasons, and I know we talk about other games every now and again just because it's all sort of related, but it's one of the reasons why I'm pretty sure Towers of Doom is my favorite map in Heroes of the Storm, is because it's pretty much 6-point control point. And I love that, man. I love King of the Hill control points. It's so good. I think that's why I like Overwatch so much anyways. My favorite game mode in TF2 was Payload Race. And just like, oh, look, it's capture point and payload. Sign me up. It's a good game.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting also that Blizzard uses these betas. Like, people always say, oh, beta, quote unquote. Like, it's a game. Like, no, it's not, because Blizzard is using this to kind of trial and error. They did it with Heroes of the Storm with the artifact system, and people hated it. They updated the...
Man, that was a train wreck.
Dude,
that wasn't even...
It was out for, what, like 10 days? And they're like, okay,
that
done.
That was a fun 10 days.
Yeah. Like, I spent the gold, and I kind of wish I hadn't, because I would have had it for other stuff. But, Blizzard's, they're not afraid to do that. They used, the beta to change the overlay in Heroes twice. They changed Haunted Mines. They're gonna do the same thing with Overwatch. The question is, what did they do to change it other than just adding stuff and balancing stats on some of the characters? Because, like you said, we don't know anything about this new game mode. We don't know anything about these new maps. Like, I'm excited to see what comes out of this. Like, stop keeping us in the dark. But I it's one of those, like, I like being beaten. You keep me in the dark, but I can't wait. Like, I'm still sitting there on the edge of my seat. Like, I guess I just like pain.
As far as large-scale changes, we've already seen that from between BlizzCon and the release of the beta, they changed Bastion's ultimate. I foresee big changes to Bastion again, as well as Torbjorn, because they've already discussed that they're punishing the new players, but not really competitive in competitive.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see some redesigns of them to make them better for all around. As well as, honestly, I would like to see some changes to Mercy, because she did get a few nerfs in the beta, and she just, of all the heroes, she feels the most unrewarding to play for me. I know a lot of people like her, but I don't just like the feeling of following around someone with a stick.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Mercy was one of those, like, everyone else gravitated towards, like, Tracer or Reaper, and it's like, I want to play Mercy even though I hate supporting in any game. I don't like supporting, but I always, for some reason, like those characters. So it'll be interesting to see what changes come about when the game comes back up. But again, if you were in the beta, you're still in the beta. You retain your access, and new players will be invited probably almost weekly. Blizzard was inviting players on a weekly basis. They're trying to keep it smaller and intimate. So, we'll see. But, good luck if you're not in, and we'll see you there starting next Tuesday on February 9th, unless you're Chinese, and then I will see you on the 16th. So it's an exciting time for the game in general. Moving on, though, there's also been a flurry of activity for our competitive fans.
Oh, yeah.
People who
Which
love...
was surprising. For me, it felt a little out of nowhere because I actually heard about that before the actual date. So I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? All these teams just got signed and we don't know when the game's coming back? And then they're like, no, it's back next week. And it's like, oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But, like, it was a lot of news. It really was.
It was. And, it started with SK Gaming, which is a big organization in esports. They've got a couple StarCraft players in the European scene. They've got a big League of Legends presence. They've got a presence in Counter-Strike. They've got a presence in Dota. They're all over the place, and they picked up a Swedish team, Team Valfard, which I don't know much about them. I don't really follow the European scene, but if SK's picking them up, they obviously have some chops to their play.
I did hear good things about Valfard. I'm excited to see SK get into Overwatch. They did briefly try to get into Heroes, but they disappeared after Heroes of the Storm. So SK getting in, just these big organizations getting in right as it's about to come to beta. And the tournaments we had like $100 prize pools.
Yeah.
These weren't huge tournaments by any means. So the fact that these companies are jumping in so early, I think it was SK who said this is the earliest they've signed a team.
Yeah.
In the history of a game's life cycle.
Yeah, they leapt in almost immediately, and unfortunately it didn't work out. They'll probably come back, but for Overwatch, there's been a lot of jockeying.
I meant for Overwatch.
Well, yeah, and for Heroes too. They had a team for shortly after the ESV ESV Diamonds, the ECS, the ESV Championship Series, there is an SK Gaming shortly after that. So I mean, you're talking about the game. The game comes in the end of March, beginning of April, and enters technical alpha, and I think August 5th, SK Gaming signs their Heroes team. So I mean, they've done this, and now they're doing it again in Overwatch. But the thing is, they're picking up good players. I think it was just a misstep with Heroes. I don't think they're gonna have the same mistake with Overwatch. But
I'll correct that. It wasn't SK Gaming who said this was their early take on it. It was Team Envious, who we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, and then so SK Gaming picked up a Swedish team, Team Valfard. That roster, Zave, Mendoku Sai, Clever, Hysterica, and Nevix. And then the other European news is Arcane Esports picked up Watch Out Gaming, and currently they're looking for a tank main player. But those players, again, I don't know much about the scene, are Pow, Vainless, Fisher, Ruster, and Jennings. And that's another team that obviously they got picked up because they got some skills. So make sure you watch out for those guys. But
this team actually, before we get to Envious, they had a little bit of controversy on the Overwatch Twitter. They have extreme requirements for their team.
Really?
In the post we're looking for a tank. So they want you 5 hours a day, 7 days a week, minimum, for scrimming in tournaments. And they want you more hours than that. And everyone on the Overwatch Reddit was like, wait, so you want people like 80 hours a week to play on your team?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of pro players. I know that screaming and being on a pro team is your job.
Yeah.
But I just saw that and I was like, the bare minimum to be on your team is 40 hours a week. That's insane.
Well, and I can speak from, and Donovan can too, being prior competitive players. I had a full-time job when Heroes came out, but I said, you know what, I want to try this. I formed a team. I was a team manager, team captain. I was competing in the league. I was competing in tournaments with my team. Donovan was doing the same thing. Like it required like 4 or 5 days a week, like 6 hours a day on top of the full-time job. So it is
a huge time commitment.
It's a huge time commitment. So I get where they're coming from, but at the same time, are you going to pay these guys, or are you just going to expect them to like not sleep? So it's going to be interesting. But if they have those extreme requirements, it might weed out all of the guys that are kind of good, and they might get that diamond in the rough. They might sift through kind of all the average stuff and find that really star tank player. But then again, not many people have access, so that star tank player might not even have access to the game yet. So we'll see. But again, another European squad. The big one, and it's big for us because they tune in, they watch us, we love them, we support them, they support us. Hubris got picked up by Team Envious, and Envious is a huge esports organization. They have a presence in other games, and they picked him up. And two of our favorite guys, Tailspin and Minstrel, who frequent our chat, and we may have some of them on in future episodes, were on that squad. It arguably one of the top Overwatch teams out there right now, and so congrats to them. I know they're watching right now,
very
guys.
big congratulations.
Yeah, I know they're watching. They're watching right now. I wish I had a soundbite to give you applause. Instead, you get my hands. But so that's awesome. So that's really big news.
If you watched competitive Overwatch, the two names you saw were Not Enigma and Hubris. And seeing Hubris picked up by an organization, I hadn't seen them. They weren't Heroes, but they're in Counter-Strike and other games, and they're big and they're sponsored. I like seeing their little tweets. They're sponsored by Monster now, so they're trying out Monster flavors and that kind of stuff. I'm really excited for these guys. We should have one of them on next week to go over the balance changes with us, and if that happens, I'm so excited to do that. Just to have that insight on the balance changes in the new game mode, it's going to be invaluable. I'm excited to see what happens with them in the future tournaments.
I mean, it's for me, what it is it's just a really good sign too, because teams are picking up good players. There are now more teams picking up players, and I mean, one of the big things when we all saw this game, when they announced it at BlizzCon and all the times that we started playing it was, Blizzard wants a competitive scene here. Is there actually one viably? Is this something that organizations are going to want people to play? Is this something that players are going to be interested in playing? Because compared to other games, the balancing is a little weird. The fact that there are such unique characters and you can change at any time, there's a lot of odd little things that happen in Overwatch that, at least for me, I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to be competitive. And seeing that there are so many teams and so many players, it's awesome. I love esports. I love seeing more things. And the fact that the game's fun, that it's accessible, and that organizations are backing it. It's a good sign for the future.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, and to echo your sentiment, the fact that you didn't know if it was going to be competitive or not, it felt like with Heroes of the Storm, Blizzard's previous title, it kind of got rushed a little bit because the community said, "Oh my God, we need this. This is competitive."
Oh, yeah.
But this is Blizzard we're talking about. They have one of the most stable formats with the WCS and StarCraft, and they're carrying it over with Hearthstone as well. A very stable environment, a very stable system. They're stabilizing with Heroes. They just announced that they're going to have the 3 regional things. There's tournaments coming down the pipeline. Obviously they're investing in the platform. With Activision Blizzard picking up MLG, obviously they're jockeying. They want this to be successful. They want this to be big, and I'm excited to see what this turns into. I have no desire to form a team like I did with Heroes because I'm a very average FPS player. But I will watch, I will cheer, I'll fly out for live events. Blizzard's in this; they're in it to win it, and I think with Overwatch they have something special.
With Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm, Blizzard took their approach and they were like, if there's a competitive scene demanded by the community, we'll make one. And with Overwatch, they're like, private games out the bat, spectator mode out the bat. We want Overwatch out the bat to be a competitive esport game. And companies are flocking to this already. They're jumping on it, and it's going to launch immediately. I mean, Gosu Gamers has announced the return of their weekly tournaments February 13th and 14th. So they're already back, and there's already going to be tournaments within a week.
I mean, there is, and obviously because there's not really much money, there is a prize pool. First place takes home $120 on, in NA and EU. So there's not a ton of money, but I mean, there's already interest. I mean, Gosu jumped in, and ESL did the same thing with Heroes, and it's only a matter of time, I'm sure, until you hear some huge news from MLG / Activision Blizzard / Frankenstein Monster, whatever they're going to end up calling it. It's gonna blow up, and it's not gonna take very long for it to get big. And you're already seeing it happen with Gosu Gamers. Gosu Gamers, one of the biggest names with esports support. They run the Gosu Gamers website. They're already starting their first tournament, so it's an exciting time for fans of competitive FPS and competitive gaming in general. We got another title to look forward to and cheer for.
Well, the other thing too is early tournaments like this set a really good standard as far as like gameplay is concerned. Like when you see tournaments this early in the life cycle of a game, you see which players are actually really standing out. You're actually seeing what a meta might look like. You're seeing the game played at its best when the people barely understand how to play the game at all.
Yeah.
So I love early tournaments, and I think they're really just exciting generally. So it's good stuff.
It is, and it helps build that foundation. So, the fact that there's excitement this early for the second straight Blizzard new title, it's very promising. So we'll have to see where this goes, but I think it'll go up very rapidly. So,
I mean, these things tend to, as long as there keeps being generated interest in it, I mean, it will. It absolutely will. You can't. It's not like 4 or 5 years ago in NA where you couldn't necessarily be like, well, I don't know if this will pull money regardless if people are interested. Like, there's money in esports. It is a huge industry. Like, there's no joke about it. We see ESPN, Activision Blizzard, like, they're big moves in the NA esports scene.
Yeah.
So as long as there, are people showing up and there's more interest, the money will start to get there and the tournaments will get huge.
Right.
So I think that's why these early tournaments are super important there, is because the community really has to come together and show interest.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I'm gonna go over that. Okay. I'm looking forward to these Ghost Gamer Weeklies. I want to bring a little bit of light onto them before I move on. The Ghost Gamer Weeklies are going to be the February 13th for the EU Weekly and February 14th for the NA. It's going to be single elimination stopwatch mode tournament, best of 3, and the finals going to be best of 5 with 32 team slots. And I hope they fill those 32 team slots. Most of the tournaments I saw were 8 teams, but since the beta, everyone's been expanding, and I can't wait to see how many people and how many teams sign up for these tournaments. They are not region locked, so you can play them on they're played on whatever server, but they're not region locked. So maybe we'll get some NA teams in the EU one and some EU teams in the NA one just to fill it up. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, you might be able to see that super team, like maybe Envious ends up being the Tempo Storm of Overwatch for a while, and they're able to freely compete in these tournaments and get even more exposure. And maybe one of these teams will, come out of nowhere, because I've seen on many Facebook groups and even some Reddit posts, people are looking to form teams, and this is going to get them not one but two potential spotlights to kind of shine early on in the Overwatch scene. So I'm super excited to follow them too, and I'll make sure that I'm tuning in and typing as loudly as I can to support my favorite team, which remains to be seen, because I don't know really what's out there yet outside of what we saw in like the Fish Sticks Invitational and whatnot. So.
Two things that Mistral brought up. First off, apparently they already did win in EU already, so that has happened. And then the other thing too, and we never really brought this up, and I never really thought of it, is I guess he says that a lot of people in competitive FPSs outside of Counter-Strike are getting really, really excited for all the teams getting signed up and the game getting released, because outside of Counter-Strike there hasn't really been a good competitive first-person shooter in the market for a long time. So it's going to be getting big. Yeah. It's going to be getting there, and it's going to be getting there quickly. We're going to be seeing a lot of talent from a lot of different places coming in. It's sort of like, I remember when Rust first released, and people were like, they're going to be building Rust tournaments, they're going to be teams, and you're seeing all these competitive Counter-Strike players and stuff play. It's just, it's exciting that we're going to have another competitive first-person shooter. Yeah. And in my opinion, one that's a little more fun to watch.
It is. And I do know that, going back on your point about other FPSs, obviously there's kind of some underground stuff with Halo and whatnot, but something that we're going to cover, some area that we're going to cover here in a few minutes. The Call of Duty World League just started 4 days ago, and it streams kind of later at night, because right now it's just Europe, but they're looking to expand to NA very quickly. So, I mean, that started too, so that's probably going to be the biggest competitor to Overwatch outside of Counter-Strike, but there's that going on too. I don't know how successful it's going to be. I do know that it has been pulling viewers from Twitch and from YouTube Gaming to go watch that, but how big Overwatch will be in comparison remains to be seen, and I'm sure they'll be able to coexist as two different styles, but it'll be interesting to see what happens when Overwatch comes out. So with that being said, though, we'll have to see how Overwatch compares when it comes back up on Tuesday, compared to other games that we've been playing recently. Because obviously we haven't had access to Overwatch since the middle of December. I know, Sean, you've been playing some games. You've been testing out some betas. I've been doing the same. I think Donovan's been doing the same. Why don't you go ahead, Sean, and talk about some of the games you've been playing while we've been waiting for this beta to come back up, and kind of how you think they'll feel compared to Overwatch.
So yeah, I've wanted to have this discussion for a little while, because there's been some recent betas and releases that kind of relate to Overwatch and some of the community's thoughts on Overwatch and how they reflect on it. The one everyone will talk about when discussing Overwatch is Paladins. That's a hero-based shooter. They have a few different game modes now. They're in beta, and they don't have as much content or polish as Overwatch, but it's still a pretty fun game.
Yeah.
It's 6v6, and you lock in a single hero. They have a total of 8 right now, which is one of the issues I kind of took up with the game. So there's not a lot of diversity. The thing that they do have in diversities, though, is that you get cards, and they change throughout the map, and you can craft new ones. These cards give you different boosts or abilities. Like, one hero I was playing, she was a stealthy who drops a bomb. And one of the cards I got was, when she drops her bomb, she immediately goes back into stealth. So it switches up the gameplay a bit and makes things a bit more random, while also giving you choice of how to build a character. The thing I did notice, though, this week, or last week, was they added ultimates to the heroes. So they changed the UI up a bit. There's now a little bar in the middle, like on Overwatch, with the percentage that builds up with damage done and taken. So they're kind of taking the ultimate vibe straight from Overwatch.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
I feel like they're trying a bit hard while doing their own thing to kind of catch up with Overwatch. They have a payload game mode, which I mean it's not specific to Overwatch or anything, and they give their heroes ultimates, but just it's starting to feel more like it.
Yeah.
And my issue with that is we can't switch heroes in that game. That was the first thing I noticed.
Yeah, and I mean, I just recently got into the Paladins beta myself. 2 weeks ago, I think I got my invite. I've played a couple games. I haven't really had time to test it out very much, but it kind of has, it's that same first-person feel to it. But like you said, there's really not a whole lot of choice. I mean, there's only 8 heroes or 8 characters right now. It felt kind of confusing at first for me to kind of try and figure out this whole new game system, and I'm sure, with Overwatch, I felt the same way, and I'm sure when there's full release that Blizzard's going to add some stuff to it. But I get exactly what you're saying about Paladins. I've gone through the same thing in my short amount of time. Donovan, have you been playing anything that you can kind of relate to and how it feels in comparison to Overwatch?
Well, I've been watching some Paladins gameplay just because I know that it's on the radar. I haven't actually gotten into it at all, and to be honest, I'm not wildly looking to get into it anytime soon. But it definitely looks like there's some things they're doing right. The card system is definitely interesting, and we're seeing that implemented a lot more in games. I know that we were thinking about talking about Dirty Bomb here. That's a game that's doing a card system. I recently just got into the Orcs Must Die Unchained alpha. Or that's a beta right now, and that has a card system implemented into it too. And that's kind of a similar thing where it's a limited hero pool right now. The game only has, I think, 12 character roster on it. When I checked earlier today, it's 12 or 14, something like that. So at least there's that diversity in it. My main problem, and I know this is a terrible nitpick considering how early Paladins is in development, it is very much alpha, and I do not mean for this to sound as cold-hearted as it is, but it's very hard for me to take it seriously just because of how much polish Overwatch has. Like, it's very hard for me to look at Paladins and be like, this is going to be a real competitor when I just look at Overwatch. And I mean, no disrespect to the game. It's coming along. They're doing a lot of cool stuff. They're really listening to the community, which is huge. I think that's very vital in a game's success, especially if you're looking at something that could potentially have a free-to-play model with microtransactions. Like, taking that feedback is very important. So I think that they're doing a lot of things right and very little wrong, but there are definitely things about it that I think will split the community. Yeah. I don't necessarily see somebody playing both a lot of the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think if you're in the Overwatch beta, you'll play Overwatch, and if you don't, you may play Paladins, pick it up. Everyone I've talked to that's played Paladins said it's a fun game, but it will not fulfill your appetite for Overwatch. And I mean, a big part of that, the lack of the ability to switch heroes, and then there's 8 heroes, and there's nothing to really connect you with that. One of the biggest things with Overwatch is that they give you this lore and these stories that connect you with the heroes. So when Genji was seen in artwork, but wasn't named, wasn't announced, wasn't anything, people were speculating using Hanzo's backstory to figure out who Genji was. And they ended up figuring out through that. But the established lore that it comes with allowed community interest to grow and people to get more attached to the characters. That's one reason. It's just like, okay, it's just 8 characters, which already feels underwhelming, and then I have no reason to really care about it. I mean, I was playing games, and immediately we get in the game, it's like, we have no Fernando, who's a tank character in the game, similar to Reinhardt. We have no Fernando, we lose. It's like, I can't switch to trying to alleviate the situation, and there's like 2 tank characters, so I don't have that much choice anyway. So while I enjoy the game, I feel like it definitely it has some work to do.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
Yeah, and even then, that still is something that you kind of have to take with a grain of salt, because the net character roster could be entirely due to how early the game is in development. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's tough to say. We would hope that they would have, like a much larger character roster at launch, but it's definitely a little restricted now. There are tons of games that I could not play in alpha and beta stages. Like, Smite is a good example. The alpha for that game was god-awful unplayable. And the beta fixed a lot of things up.
Yeah.
League of Legends, which is, arguably the biggest moneymaker out there right now, I played in beta and was like, what is this? No, please delete from my computer, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like we're just crushing on Paladins.
Right.
Because it's not a terrible game by any means. It's just definitely got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Play this, they take feedback.
They do, and it does, and their forums are very active. The few games I did play, I provided some feedback, and they responded to me, and so that was kind of cool. But I mean, it does have fluid play. It didn't really hold my attention, kind of like what Overwatch does and what Heroes did, and what a game like that does, because with Overwatch, the ability to switch characters, that's kind of a must-have. I don't like playing one character all the time. I like to be able to adapt and be flexible, and Paladins doesn't give you that. And that was kind of my biggest turnoff, is the fact that, well, I'm just trying to test out this character. I'm trying to see what their abilities are. Well, I'm getting smashed because I just got hard countered. Well, it's not really fun. So Overwatch provides you that flexibility, and I do like that. One thing that Paladins does have, though, that Overwatch needs to have, it's been requested, hopefully Blizzard's listening, looking at you, is they do have portraits for team members in Paladins. They don't have it yet in Overwatch, and it's a feature that we all requested. We would like to see. I'd like to see character portraits and team health, because that's important to me. Especially if you're playing someone. Needed. Yeah, it's needed, especially if you're playing Mercy, you're playing Lucio, you're playing like a support character. It's good if somebody is like your Tracer is way off in the back line. You need to know if she's under duress, so you can immediately make a beeline for it. So that's something that Paladins does have going for it, that I hope an iteration of it comes into Overwatch.
Yeah, and I mean, we really do need it too. I was amazed at how long we didn't get a feature like that in the Heroes Spectator at all. And like, you know what I mean? Like this, it seems like something that's very intuitive, right?
Yeah.
You think that you want something like that, so the player, I mean, because you're promoting communication, and you have to, in your head, be like, these people don't know each other. We're taking a solo queue scenario. They're not in voice IP. They're not communicating like that. Like, how do you implement systems to fix that?
Yeah.
There's a lot of games that are coming out right now, and it's the way they relate to the story of Overwatch. As I said, like the characters thing with Paladins and the switching and whatnot, but Dirty Bomb is another example of that. I'm sorry for cutting you off there, but Dirty Bomb is like Overwatch. It's got a lot of heroes, way more heroes than Paladins does. It's got 15 plus heroes in multiple game modes, and it's a really fun game. However, it's got a very restrictive free-to-play model. Like the League of Legends model, you have paid heroes and a free hero rotation, but it's 3 heroes a week.
Right.
You get 2 initially, and you have 3 paid heroes, or 3 free heroes. So you have like 5, and it just comes down to we have 6 players versus 6 players. And one instance I had, there was a stealth character that was on free rotation, and literally everyone was a stealth character because they could finally play it. And it just led to this experience where I'm like, I can switch mid-game, but the limitation of the hero pool really brightened my opinion of Overwatch and the way they handled their pay model and how wonderful it's going to go. Because unlike Paladins, unlike Dirty Bomb, they don't have these microtransactions that not only block heroes, or affect hero power like in Paladins with those cards. And Dirty Bomb has it the same way.
Right. Yeah. And I really believe that the free-to-play model with microtransactions is kind of becoming archaic just because everybody's going to it. And I haven't played much Dirty Bomb, but one of the games I have played, and it's still kind of in its beta phases, is a game called Warface. And it's a Call of Duty clone. It's a Dirty Bomb kind of clone where it's a shooter, and it's free-to-play. It's got 4 classes, the engineer, the medic, the sniper, and then just your assault rifleman character. And there's really nothing to do except grind out levels, and you can't even get into like the good lobbies until you hit account level 13. You don't even get your 3rd class until you hit account level 7. So, and then even then you have to stop what you're doing and run a tutorial, go through the tutorial. It takes like 30 minutes. There's no way to skip it. And then there's microtransactions, and the microtransactions are, well, you can earn in-game currency, and you can unlock this weapon for 3 days or 7 days if you can afford it, or you can pay real money and have it for the entirety of your gameplay. So I mean, I liked it because it was fun. It was fast paced. It was something I was looking for. It kind of quenched my thirst for Overwatch for about 3 days until it was like, all right, well, it's taking me forever to get to level 13. Oh, but I can purchase an XP boost. All right, cool. For a week I have 400% XP, but that costs $4. So I dropped it very quickly. It's really well made, but the system that they are instituting for their microtransactions is absolutely horrendous. So I'm glad that Overwatch did not go that route at all.
Well, I think it's very important to make the difference here between free-to-play and pay-to-win, because that's where microtransactions get kind of dirty. I noticed that it was mentioned in chat, too. Because the thing is there are games that do the system correctly, and it's not a horrible grind, and you have decent access to people, the unlock rate is good, things like that. But another game that I hate the free-to-play model in is Warframe.
Yeah.
It takes, that game is amazing. That game is super fun. It's really fast-paced, it's co-op, it's a good time. But the amount of time it takes to get a character, I mean, literally, say you're lucky enough to grind out the materials and the blueprint, get a character. So we're already talking about days, weeks to get the stuff, right? Then you have to wait X amount of time for it to combine and finish building. There's absolutely no reason. It's there purely as an incentive to make you pay to skip it. And that's what makes it a bad model, in my opinion, is games that force you to pay in order to win. And that's kind of what Dirty Bomb felt like. It didn't necessarily feel like a free-to-play model. It felt like pay to win.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. When I'm unlocking cards that I can pay for chests to unlock them, and they have different stats on them, it's the same way in Paladins. So just the card systems are cool, but I don't really want to spend the money on it.
Yeah.
I don't need to, but the fact that these people have access to more power than me, Minstrel's saying they sold access for $200 to the alpha. That's
what?
Ridiculous.
I wouldn't pay $200 for Overwatch. Some people
there are people who paid more. It has happened.
No kidding.
but I mean, still, it's ridiculous. Because there are games that do it right, and I think the free-to-play model is a good model when used correctly, just because microtransactions do fuel longevity of a game.
Yeah.
As long as there's, economy getting infused through the game, they're going to keep it up because it's making them money.
Right.
So I don't think the system is inherently broken or bad. It's just a lot of games do it really fucking terribly. And that's why I was so happy when Overwatch is $40 or $60 for the game, but you get all the characters and maps, everything else, it's just cosmetic. And they're actually sticking to that. I think, I swear I talk about it every episode with us, because every time I think about it, it just makes me happy. I think it's the smartest move Blizzard could have done for their game. I really, genuinely do.
Yeah.
Well, the other day I logged into Star Wars Battlefront, and the first thing it asked me is oh, do you have this DLC? If not, you have this one queue and another queue. It's so wait, if I don't have the DLC downloaded, I'm split up from the community. That's great. And I couldn't find a game. I had to download the DLC to find a match.
Yeah.
And it's I'm so glad Overwatch does not have paid maps.
Right.
I was thinking they would have my original idea was that they would have expansion packs with heroes and maps, and that would just split the community up. That's why you can't do that with maps, and that's why Battlefront, despite being the only game that we've talked about here that's actually released, it's one of the worst first-person shooters to come out in recent times. I mean, another thing I want to touch upon was it has zero cosmetic and customization options, which there was in Battlefront, and in 2016 there should have been some option. The best I can do is decide it's oh, I want a stormtrooper without a helmet, and it's an alien or it's a human, and the only way to change it to something else, like a TIE fighter trooper, is just play hundreds of hours and get to the top levels of the game.
Yeah.
And beyond that, the progression system heavily affects balance to the point where you have the jetpack and that's overpowered, and you have all kinds of grenades to throw and spam versus the newer people. And the only way for you to get that is to grind it out or to get partnered up with someone, because if you partner in the game, you can copy their loadout.
Right. Yeah, and you can spawn to the partner, and it does, because I kind of have an unpopular opinion. I do like Battlefront, but I don't play it a lot. I have it. Yeah. I play it. I'll pick it up and play 4 or 5 matches. I like the fighter squadron game mode. You're not even on the ground. You're in an A-wing. You're in an X-wing. You're in a TIE interceptor or a TIE fighter. You're in the sky. It's not even on the ground. And again, going back to what you said, you have to grind to level 50 to unlock the Black TIE Fighter skin. And being a lower level character, you don't have access to all the weapons either. Like, you don't get the DL-44, arguably probably one of the best, strongest weapons. You could one or two shot people depending if you get a headshot. You don't even get that until like you're halfway through your grind. And then on top of that, the Bowcaster, which is another ability, I mean, it's overpowered as crap. You don't get that from the beginning. You have to grind out hours upon hours. And again, the jetpack Bowcaster DL-44, you have any amount of skill and you're just going to dominate. I've watched people get like 45, 50 kills in a single deathmatch setting with that loadout, because it's like, I can't stop this. It's overpowered beyond all belief. The graphics are beautiful, but as far as the game itself, it doesn't have a whole lot of replay value for me.
Audioly and visually, it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's beautiful, and it immerses you in that Star Wars universe. But in the end, it just does not feel fleshed out. I know one thing is it's got 10 plus game modes, but one of my favorite quotes from Toll Biscuit is, it's got all these game modes, but it feels like they only actually finished one, and that's their Walker's All game mode. It's the only one that's actually fleshed out and done. And that's what one thing in relation to Overwatch is, like, people have been demanding and begging for more game modes, but Blizzard's like, no, we gotta take the time to find one that works.
Right.
And that's like, you can have as many game modes as you want, but if they're not actually fleshed out and fulfilling, there's no point.
Right.
Fighter Squadron's a fun game mode, but the fact is, I have two planes that I have access to. I want Y wings, I want B wings, I want more than just two fighters for the entirety of the game mode dedicated to dogfighting.
Right.
I mean, that game has ground vehicles for the Empire and none for the Rebels. The only ground vehicle you have is the speeder bike on Endor, and the maps are filled with trees.
Right.
You can't drive the speeder bike on these maps. The only one you can do it on is like the specific training mission that's like a straight line built for the speeder bikes. You can't actually do it on the real Endor map. There's trees everywhere. You'll die.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's and that's probably the closest thing we have to Overwatch, because it is paid model. But I don't think Blizzard's going to release paid DLC for Overwatch. They could, they might, you never know. But the fact that with Battlefront, you don't get to get into a lobby unless you have Battle for Jakku, like, that was kind of frustrating. I logged in, it's like, yay, I get to play, this is so beautiful, but why is it taking 6 minutes to find a game? Oh, because I don't have the Battle of Jakku. Well, let me go download it. And don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful map, and it's a beautiful game type that they have in the DLC, but the fact that you have to jump through these hoops, and it's like, you're not cool enough to play with us unless you get this, yeah, that's kind of a turnoff. So
it's a big wall for a lot of players. It might not really sound like it on paper, like, oh, we can release this DLC and like a bunch of people will pick it up and it'll do great. But there are a lot of people who, the $40, $60 they spend on a video game is a huge portion of their spending for a long period of time.
Yeah.
It's the Destiny problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, the Taken King and all that stuff was supposed to be in the game originally, and they're like, no, we're just going to cut it straight out of the game and sell it as DLC. And, like, I'm somebody who would have loved to have played that game, but I'm just so horrifically turned off by the way that they did it that I just won't.
Yeah.
Well, I played, Daniel and I both played The Division this week, and we both really enjoyed it. And that's a $60 game. And they just announced that season pass holders will get access to weekly or monthly events and season pass exclusive content drop. So it's like, so wait, everyone that paid $100 is gonna have these content and get like gear drops for them and stuff that I have no access to because I spent $60 instead of $100. Come on, guys.
Right. And it was. I enjoyed the game, but as soon as I heard about the season pass, it's like, God, here we go again. Like, a game I really, really, really want to play, I'm probably still going to play, but not nearly as much, because I don't want to drop extra money. I want to be able to purchase a game and have the game. They're going to make a killing off this game. Everyone's looking forward to it. Well, most everyone's looking forward to it. Why are you charging an extra $40, $25 or $40 for the season pass? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it is. It's a bad trend that hopefully more games like Overwatch will fix.
Yeah. So, but it'll be interesting to see how Overwatch holds up when it's released widely. I think people are so rabid for this game that it's going to be very successful. It's going to have its niche. It's going to carve it out. It's going to have a huge following, both casually and competitively. And I'm super excited to start playing again on Tuesday.
It's true. It's true. Speaking of playing again on Tuesday, though, do we want to dive into this week's character?
You want a BAMF? We got a BAMF. Yeah,
I know
let's
you're
get into
excited
it.
about it, so let's just do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Sean, you want to do the honors since you're so eloquent at reading backstories?
Am I? Am I not?
You are.
So this week we're discussing the BAMF, Jesse McCree. He's an American bounty hunter from Santa Fe, New Mexico, who's formerly associated with Overwatch, which actually surprised me when I looked it up, because I was like, wait, I thought he was a villain. Nope, he's a good guy. So, McCree was one of those characters that, for me, really stuck out, because before he was nerfed, he felt like a sniper with that revolver. I was getting killed from McCree from long distances. And somewhere through the beta, they nerfed him so he's more of a... to where he should be with the revolver, to more short and mid-range.
Yeah.
But he was powerful, and he was everywhere. So, towards his weapons and ability, he has the Peacekeeper Revolver. It's a 6-shooter revolver, and its main shot does 70 damage. They nerfed him in the middle of the beta to where the damage drops off after 50% of the range. So he's no longer that hardcore sniper that I felt like he was, and more of a close to mid-range damage dealer. The big helper with this is his alt fire, the fan fire. It fires all 6 bullets from his gun, doing 420 damage, and it's a beast. He one of his other
Body
abilities
bags.
is
You just body bag people, just not even.
Yeah.
one of his other abilities is his flashbang grenade, and as soon as he was nerfed, everything I saw was they just run up in your face, flashbang immediately, and then fan fire and just destroy you. And it's all McCree's been doing was doing last few weeks of the beta, and it's, if you don't watch out for it, it can be really devastating. A fun thing with McCree is, though, his one of his other abilities is his combat roll, and you dive in the direction McCree is moving, and that dive also reloads. So it gets you if you use all your bullets and then immediately use it, it gets you really back into the fight. And it's really good. His ultimate is one of the more fun, I wouldn't say controversial, but one of the more fun ones.
I would say it's
shot.
easily one of the most thematic too.
Yeah.
Like as far as we're talking character concepts here. McCree is really well put together. Like you want to play a gunslinging cowboy, like they made that fantasy, you know?
Yeah.
Like I swear, they even do the hawk when he starts his ult. It's like it's
Right?
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic.
So when he uses his ultimate Deadeye, he glows red, there's a tumbleweed in the hawk, and he says, it's high noon. And so during that time, he's targeting every enemy in his line of sight. And he does 100 damage plus to these enemies. And if you're not careful, it can pretty much one-shot you.
Yeah.
If you're not a high health character or have a shield on you, it will one-shot you. The lower HP you are, actually, the faster it'll line up on you. So if you're not careful, you can just get really bodied by this ability. I remember a specific tournament on Watchpoint Gibraltar where I think it was I love brain farts. Anyway, the McCree player the McCree player used High Noon onto Zarya ult and killed all 6 of the enemy team.
Yeah.
And I think it was Eagle, actually. Sorry about that brain fart there. It's just, if used properly, it can be really ridiculous. It's also really it's really risky because it's one of the harder ultimates to use in that it puts you out there. When you use High Noon, you're slowly walking around. You're glowing bright orange. You're really a big target, and I can pop you off easily.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what keeps him from being overpowered. Because I love McCree. Like I am having a BAMF belt buckle made. Like I might even cosplay as McCree. I might even become McCree.
Gross.
You never know.
When I grow up, I want to be a cowboy.
When I grow up, I want to be a BAMF. But he's super balanced in the fact that he is a revolver, and now that they've tweaked his abilities so that they're not super overpowered, and the fact that his High Noon ability, sure, it's you got caught out, you're dead. The problem is, and what makes him balanced is, it leaves him vulnerable to a counterattack. So as soon as you hear him say, it's High Noon, you either get behind a wall or you kill him. Like that's it, and it takes so long to set it up that there is that window, but you better not be a dumbass and stand out in the open and try and just engage him. Like kill him,
Where is he?
kill him or hide behind a wall. But So that's kind of what keeps him balanced. And I can't wait to play McCree when the beta comes back up, because I need my cowboy fix. Like, I need to put my accent on. I need to get my hat. Like, I wear a hat. I have an accent when I play McCree, because he's a BAMF. Like, he's one of my favorite characters.
You can tell that Daniel is the embarrassing dad of the podcast.
I'm the embarrassing dad. That's me.
I mean, I will say he really is fun to play. That's not my favorite role in pretty much any game. I like the people who get into the fight and control the fight. That's my more stuff. But like McCree at least is super aggressive. Like the fact that he's really low health. I mean, it's kind of like a high risk, high reward sort of deal. He's made of paper. He's short to medium range, and if you mess up your combo, you die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But on the same note, you don't mess up your combo and you drop a tank or anybody in front of you. You know what I mean? So he's good. I think he's a really healthy character design. I like that he's in the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of counterplay. He feels rewarding. He's exciting. It's not like you're in a game and you're like, great, they have a McCree. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. He's a good design and he's well put together.
It's not like Farah, where I immediately feel threatened with her rocket launches or anything, or
Oh, God,
76, where I'm just like, here comes the auto aim.
Yeah, it's sort of great. Call of Duty's in this game. I can't wait. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. But he's fun. He's fun. He's thematically fun. He's visually fun. He's fun to play. I like glass cannons, so that's probably why I enjoy him so much. But yeah.
You just have a huge man crush on McCree. It's okay.
I do have a huge man crush on McCree.
It's the facial hair and probably the hat too. Let's be honest.
Notice I'm wearing a hat and I got facial hair. Mm-hmm.
Speed boosting McCree ult can be really cool. Says Redlock in chat. Yeah, that'd be really fun. Just anything to boost up McCree. He's a character that I picked up towards the end of the beta, and because I wanted to play him once he was nerfed and was no longer like that pistol sniper.
Because it was ridiculous for a while. It was just stupid. Just from across the map, we had pistol headshot. Like, come on, man.
I had Widow making a deal with Anne McCree. I was not a happy camper. I don't like snipers. Just playing him and getting in that combo. Just roll up in people's face, throwing that grenade. I mean, it's got a short radius, so you got to be accurate with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and as Cold Knight says in the chat, he says, I've seen a lot of people that don't understand how to use his ult. The circles over the enemy head slowly get smaller. Lower health equals faster turn into a skull, which it's not a one-shot kill if you don't get that off. But, still, it's one of those where you just get that instant satisfaction because it's just like you set him up, you knock him down. It's perfect, like Wild West style. He was a good addition. Fun times, good times.
There's a lot of ultimates in this game that can be whiffed really easily and take skill and timing to do it. I mean, as much as it is auto aim, it's like with 76's auto aim ultimate, you have to pick the best time to use it because you want to get that maximum effective use. And it's the same thing with McCree. You want targets that are lower on health because if I've used it before, it's just like, oh, I didn't kill anyone, and it's not going to 100% of the time.
Yeah,
it's a really good ult, but you got to strategically use it. Use it when your enemies are low to medium health. Try and get as many as you can in that ultimate, and try not to stretch yourself out too far into the open when you use it, because it's a loud ultimate. Everyone on the enemy team will hear it and they'll know you're doing it, and if they see you just waddling around glowing bright orange, they'll kill you.
Free kill.
Yeah.
Free kill.
Yeah.
There are a lot of times when I'm playing Roadhog that ult is just padding my score. That's literally just all it is. Because it's somebody like, oh, we're pushing the objective. I'm going to high noon next to this car. It's just free. It's just free. It's definitely a lot harder to use than people expect.
Yeah.
In all honesty, as far as like Wombo lineups are concerned, I like him more than Hanzo, and the main reason is because I like the aggressive play style of him.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that they have a character who's that paper thin, who has so much aggressiveness to them. It's kind of like, it feels like a more impactful Tracer almost. You know what I mean? Like Tracer gives you more mobility and things like that, but McCree always feels really solid in the lineup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cold Knight in chat saying if you right click with this ult, it will save 50% man cancel, and yeah, that is something you can do. Cancel it so that it's not completely wasted.
Yeah.
A lot of ults are that though. Like if they whiff, they'll not necessarily go off. They'll cancel, and you'll get like 90% of it back.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely has some advantages and has some disadvantages. He's not overpowered, but he is in the right hands. A seagull looking at you, buddy. So I think that just about covers it for McCree, though, unless you guys have anything else to add.
Nope, and that's pretty much the time slot right on the nose almost. So
just about, yeah. I'm looking at the timer. I mean, we did good on time. Good deal. Good deal.
And normally we do have Morgan here too, just for people who are watching this is the first week. We do have another host who's normally with us. She just was having technical issues this week.
Yeah.
Last week her team was playing, so we took the week off because we all wanted to cheer her on and be in chat.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah, she normally sits there.
Play, so.
She sits there to my right.
It's high noon already. Yes, it is cold night.
So,
I'll
but
say this, though.
what's up?
Overwatch is coming back, and next week is
Yeah.
not going to be a short show. Next week,
Yeah.
It's going to be a mega show.
Hour still feels long, but we're going to be aiming for like an hour and a half region, especially since there's going to be content to go over and people to. It's going to be good.
24-hour show.
we're not going to go over the patch notes with the magnifying glass, but we're going to have a guest, and we're going to have all the new content, the new game mode. That's the beauty of our time slot on Friday, is that we'll have it come out on Tuesday, and we'll have the time to actually play it and get used to the balance changes. So we'll not only be telling you about the balance changes and going over them, we'll tell you our impressions of them and how they feel. And so it's going to be a longer episode, but it's where the podcast is going to start really getting into it, and we're going to have news. And I'm really happy to be able to bring the news with you guys to the community, and appreciate you guys in the chat helping us out. That's wonderful, and we love your support. So thank you for being here. I know we've been a lot of hype the first few episodes, but we're looking forward to giving you the substance and the hard news and discussion and feedback and the nitty gritty. We're ready.
It was mainly timing. The reason why we've had so much speculation is because the game went down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's been a big part of it. So
Every other podcast has been doing like all support episodes, all tank episodes, and just like filling in time.
Yeah, and I mean, we had this show planned, and then they just went whoop, like straight Roadhog hook. You wanna cover this game? Well, you're gonna have to wait 6 weeks. So, it's good that it's 7 weeks now. It's good that it's coming back, but all hype, more substance. Fridays are gonna be a good time for us. So it's gonna be a good time. Well, I think that's our episode. Let's go ahead and do our outro here. Sean, where can people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Azax Gaming, AZAX Gaming, as well as twitch.tv/Azax Gaming. I will be streaming Overwatch this week as much as I can in between school and work, and I'll be streaming Heroes of the Storm occasionally like I've been doing this week. I may even be streaming some tonight. So if you want to come hang out and play some Heroes of the Storm, I am more than willing to help out and play with you. So come hang out.
Sweet. Donovan, go.
You can get me over at Twitter. My handle is NA1I. I don't stream a whole lot. It's pretty sporadic. I don't really have a schedule set up or anything like that. But I am pretty easy to reach there. So
sweet. And as for me, you can find me on Twitter at Veritech. Veritech. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at the tweeter at Veritech_. The underscore is because I'm awesome and I needed an extra character and someone else took Veritech, but that's it. You can find me twitch.tv/VeritechGG. I really only use it for this show, but you can find me on my YouTube gaming channel. If you look for Veritech, I'm the one with the most subscribers and the most videos. There are 3 right now. Hopefully by this time next week I will be the highest
survival of the fittest.
Yeah, I will be the highest channel. When you type in Veritech, I'll be the default person. But you can find me there. I stream 7 days a week. My streaming schedule is in the banner there on YouTube Gaming. I am a YouTube partner, so I support them heavily. We are dual streaming right now on Twitch and YouTube Gaming, so appreciate both chats. I actually had to pull Twitch chat up halfway through because I felt like I was missing out. So
yeah, both chats were extremely active tonight, and that's. I know that people said they were excited to see that we were responding to chat and stuff, and that's half the fun.
Yeah.
Well, we love interacting with chat, so it's good to see everyone here.
Yeah, and I'm not going to shout out everybody just because, there's so many people. But, we really appreciate you guys tuning in live. And you can also find us on iTunes. If you just search under podcasts, The Guardians, we upload our weekly podcast. Pretty much, we're going to hit end on here, and I'm going to upload it. So look for it probably by the end of the night. it'll be up on iTunes. If not, it'll be the next morning because they have to pull it off of a third-party website that we use. But it'll be there if you want to get your episode 3 fix in again. Maybe listen to it in the car. That's what I'm saying. It'll be up there on iTunes. So if there's nothing else, again, for my co-host Sean and Donovan, I am Daniel Veritek. Another successful episode, and we will catch you guys later.